never
Make sure
forget.
record recognizes we get some bullshit,
I
so
s-
you have to edit it out in the beginning, so we know that you did hit the record button.
I see a
Thankfully,
live.
it says live.
It does say live.
There we
We
go.
are good to go. All right, I'll get us started. Hello and welcome everyone to the Best in Slot Radio Podcast, a podcast focused on Final Fantasy XIV, its game design and features, as well as how it compares against other games on the market. I'm one of your hosts, DTG, and with me will be Ez and Nox. Say hi, boys.
Sup, dudes?
Hello there.
All right, so let's get into episode number 2, Final Fantasy XIV and all of its systems. This is going to be a deep dive. We're going to go into a lot of system elements, not only specific to Final Fantasy XIV, but MMOs as a whole. But we've got a lot to cover, so who wants to get started?
Well, fuck. There's so much to kind of go over. Where do we even want to begin?
I'm not fucking starting with the feast. That we're talking about it this episode. We're waiting until the end. That's when I can ruin all of your days.
Hopefully we can end that on a high note.
But so I guess instead of that, MSQ, like
Yeah, I think that's a good
do we
spot.
want to? Yeah, I feel like if there's anything every single Final Fantasy player can like agree with, it's like just how amazing the main story is, especially for an MMO.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially the fact that it's woven in to like the raid aspects, and like it literally. I mean, yeah, there are aspects that make you play them to progress, but at
Right.
the same time, it's woven in a neat way, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think what's nice is even though that it's linear, it has a way of making the game feel bigger than that, and the incorporation of other players into your main game really highlights something that I don't see very commonly in other games.
It's super impressive how the game like just based on it being an MMO, right? Like I've never played an MMO with a story this solid and this strong. Like even the weakest part, A Realm Reborn, is heads and shoulders above other MMOs.
Yeah.
To add on that, I have never played even like a MMO game of sorts that has the story that's so compelling. Like,
Yeah, that's a good point.
you just get stuck in.
And, like,
you just like end up losing yourself into like what the hell's going on. Like, man, now I need to progress story quest to like see what the hell's next. Like, what?
I'm gonna be honest,
crazy
like
rabbit hole.
going off of that comment, like I don't know if I've ever played an RPG I've gotten this into.
Yeah, that's a good
like
point.
the setting the MMO aspect aside, and it's the first fucking thing you hear about over and over and over. Oh, Realm Reborn is so weak. It's like no,
I don't think it's weak.
I'm sorry, but you have to start as the basic bitch errand boy. All right,
Yeah.
like you can't just be the hero like that.
Yeah, like
I think the meme "Pray Return to the Waking Sands" little rough. Fucking give me an Aetherite already. I don't stop it.
Yeah.
But,
don't get me started
let's-
with forgetting you have
yeah.
those tickets. Jeez.
but like even then,
That's a good
like
point.
you hit that threshold and you go into the patch content for Realm Reborn, and then you do the Crystal Tower stuff, and then you go into Heaven's Word, and this, like I've used this analogy before of like you're kind of pushing a rock up a hill, and that hill top is Heaven's Word, and then it's just rolls.
Yeah, that's a good point. It just substantially speeds up when you hit Heaven's Ward, but I think ARR gets a bad rap. I think post 2.0, yeah, sure, it can slow down a little bit, but I think it gets a bad rap and is not exactly bad. I think it's world building. You're not the main character thrust into the story immediately. It's you earn your way, and I feel like that's one thing
Yup.
that this game really does differently than any other game. You have to earn it. It feels good.
Yeah, you definitely feel that like player progression as the story goes. Like you do get more recognition in the game. Like you do actually like get like recognized type deal, and like I wouldn't say you feel the weight of the hero, but like it, the the NPCs look at you like, no, we know you can do it, but it's some shit. Like,
Yep.
oh,
It's not even like it takes long. And then the Heaven's Word, like going into Heaven's Word, flips that on its head because you spent all of A Realm Reborn building up your reputation just for it to be ripped away at the end of A Realm Reborn. And you're sent off to this place that's like essentially its own closed off nation, you know? It's amazing!
Yeah, the isolation factor that brings in with Ishgard, especially towards the end of that, really is a fantastic payoff, and I think a great segue to like, all right, you got to disappear for a while. This nation you've been friends with before, but they need your help in order for them to get through some shit. So why don't you disappear and go help some other people?
To kind of go off that point there, where you're talking about like that isolation factor, it's interesting to kind of tie it to how like you lose your connection to each elemental crystal. You lose that the blessing of light, and you basically have to kind of like rehash that connection. And it's interesting how they play that out and like intertwine that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Garstormer's just like, nah.
Yeah, can't come hang out. Sorry.
You proved it to your little crystal god lady. Prove it to me.
It's so my wife actually started a few days ago, and she's only like level 13 or 14. She's taking it very casually, but she highlighted the MSQ as one of the most unique things. She's like, we played EverQuest and we played WoW. She's like, I've never had a game just tell me what to do. It's like, this is the next quest, go do it. And I think not tying it necessarily to your player's power, but more to your player's progression has been really, really eye-opening for her, kind of seeing how a game can operate differently.
Yeah, I can definitely see how a fair bit of the player base doesn't like gated content. I mean, I'll be honest, that's the primary reason why I didn't like Modern WoW. But like how they gate the progression and how they actually like line things up for you, you clearly see it. There's reasoning behind it as you progress, and like it's a completely different reasoning. It's a completely different tale behind the gating. Case in point, people still go back to older raids and people still go back to older content and have a blast just setting it to like sync, and to actually try it for, well, not as legit as they can, because you can't really replicate that same release experience. But
sure,
that's the thing, you don't hear of that. Well, I never really heard of that with people doing that in WoW, right? You can't set a level sync, so it's like
you can't do it to that degree. They've tried to introduce it with time walking, but it's really not the same. And something that I sold kind of a couple of friends on to get them to come over here and play is the fact that they have a way of making old content stay relevant. And it's optional. I think that's a big one.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, here are the roulettes, but if you don't do them, you just don't get the bonuses. No big deal. But you can still go about and play the game and enjoy yourself. Go for it. And that's it's crazy.
And an alternative to that, the opposite extreme, you want to just level up by queue and gathering or something? Well, all right, queue up as this other combat class. You want to toss in all your roulettes and then just go and gather.
Yep.
I mean, while we're talking about the roulettes and all of the pros and cons about them, I will be the voice of dissent. I do not like leveling down in roulettes.
I do not.
I think it is. It's something that I just deal with, and it's like, okay, I get it. Like it's a lot easier to balance these, like keep all of these things current content if you just take away all the new shit you've acquired. That is a really easy way to keep that stuff balanced and in the game constantly.
Right.
But also, like, God, I hate going into a level 20 dungeon and just having like 4 abilities.
Sure, yeah. Like Shastasha is not the most fun or engaging content. I think that effect is actually felt more on some of the newer classes than it is on some of the older ones.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure.
Like what Lancer's gonna do at level 16. Not
Yes.
a whole lot. So you're
Nothing.
like,
No.
all right, whatever. Yeah, it's like 1 or 2 button combo. Like,
Now
but if
do
you
it to
go
a
on an Astro,
gunbreaker.
yeah, or a
Yeah.
Gunbreaker, and you're like, well, fuck, dude, what do I do now?
Like it didn't even occur to me until my friend brought it up just like a week ago. But he's been leveling Gunbreaker, and he's like, I fucking hate going to like sub 40 plus whatever dungeons
Yeah,
because I just lose a bunch of my mitigation shit.
Yep.
And it's
Drop
like,
off on your CDs.
oh, that didn't even occur to me that you could just lose your way to defend yourself. You're a
yeah.
tank. It's your
You
job.
kind of need it. I don't know how hard it would be to implement. The only recommendation I could have to improve that system is classes that have been implemented in further expansions and therefore start at not level 1 should not queue into content lower than the level that they start at.
I
As
mean,
the lowest.
Definitely see how that'd be. Maybe not gimmicky, but that might lead to some.
I honestly, I think that they've gone with moving in the opposite of position of the advocate. I think I hate that it levels me down, but like from a design point of view, I get it.
I get it. Yeah,
Because
that makes sense.
that is the best way to make sure that things are fair and balanced without having to go back and rework it every time they introduce a new class. And it's like
Yeah.
because like can you imagine going into Satasha with all of your abilities? You would walk through the place by
Yeah, you burn it
yourself,
down. Yeah.
like, and it's not even like you're just out DPSing everything, because obviously your numbers are scaled back as well, but like you just have such a varied and massive toolkit
A full
that it
kit.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's like fucking get stunlocked to death, dillweeds. Like,
I don't know how I ever miss this, and I have been so focused on other things. What's Hildebrand about?
Oh man.
yeah,
So, like with my sporadic playing, I've come in at like the most inopportune times and never stayed long enough up until this most recent one to experience everything because I'm
The
so
best
busy
thing.
trying to catch up.
So
Hildebrand is the best thing.
I do have to say I'm not completely caught up. I think I'm about what is it? A little bit way through. I know I finished the Heaven's Word stuff, so I think there's like another segment left. But oh man, is it a hoot? It's
So it's a
seriously,
storyline.
yes. It's a pretty cool storyline.
Okay.
It's a side optional quest. It actually does unlock some raids.
Okay.
They are be warned, not really warned, but it's like a comic relief, and it's cool how they put it in there in a serious manner, like it's an actual raid, like it's like the Battle on Big Bridge or whatnot.
Okay.
I forgot the second one that was Heaven's Ward. I think there's actually a couple. But yeah, it's just such a good time, just because it's more so like I said, the comedic relief, but it's like it's still like that Final Fantasy feel. Like it's great.
Mhm. Yeah, no, it's just extremely over the top, and if I'm assuming that our podcast's biggest viewer base, you people listening, probably going to be new players. You want to pick up the Hildebrand stuff and just take your time and enjoy it, because it's nothing serious. It's not going to be world shattering. It does not affect the story whatsoever at all. It is just fun. It's just fun. And you get the best dances from it too. So
Yes. Oh, how can I forget about the dances?
you gotta meme on your dead
Mandeville.
friends.
Oh, the Mandeville.
Well, and then for anybody who is listening, that quest line starts in Ul'dah on Emerald Avenue at Wymond, and that quest is called The Rise and Fall of Gentlemen. So if you're interested in getting into that, take a look. Last thing I want to talk about with the whole questing as a whole before we jump to the next topic is the unlock quests. What a fantastic,
mhm.
such an
Yeah.
easy quality of life change. But like knowing that something is going to happen from completing this quest chain, instead of it just being like, I don't know where this is leading. What are we doing? I love
Yeah. Nah, it is one of my favorite things. Like, so like as a new player coming into it, you have no idea what all of these different icons mean. But then once you have somebody either explain it to you or look into it yourself, suddenly you're like, okay, I do this, I can skip all that, and I focus on MSQ.
it. Yep.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
And in that regard, also, once you kind of hit that Heaven's Ward mark, those blue quests are basically one of three things. It's going to end up being an Aether Current, most likely,
Yeah.
because
Yep.
you're going to hit those as you're progressing. Or, second most likely, it's going to end up being a dungeon unlock, which obviously we need those.
Yeah.
Or raid unlocks, side note there as well, which are,
The-
that's a whole other
uh,
topic right there. That's
Yeah.
cool.
the point is, like, as you're leveling up, you should be picking up these quests just because they unlock important things.
I would say
Not all of them.
yeah, pick them up sparingly to an like.
You
It's
do
hard.
not need to pick up the materia quest before your max level. I mean, materia melding at level 14.
But
is
I
not
would
a
also
thing.
say that it's not super difficult to do,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like you
Hammer
just
that
get it
out
out of the
right
way.
away,
yeah.
Like it's not like the big differences with the quest is like MSQ, you got the fire around it. The blue quests are the unlockables, and then you have all of the other stuff, side quests essentially.
My take on the blue quests. When I came back, I've watched a video on it. Shout out to Zepla's "What Blue Quests Are Important" video.
Okay.
We'll get a link
Link
for
that
that when we're
down.
going
Yeah.
there. But yeah, it was seriously a great way in how she just laid it out there, saying like these are the important ones. You'll know if these are not, or if you're interested in beast tribes, you'll know
I
because
mean-
it's got a little flag there, and it's just
Oh, yeah.
it's just a simple and great quick layout type deal.
Yeah, shout out to Zepla. Go watch her YouTube channel
Yeah,
and actually
definitely.
figure out how to do things.
Subscribe to Zepla. I'll just put her main page on here. Definitely go check out her content.
There's gonna be another
very
YouTuber we
approachable-
shout out later.
Nice.
We got a lot of them that we'll shout out. She definitely has earned it. So, all right. What's next?
What's on the queue? What's on the queue?
I think
Raid design.
yeah.
Since we're still talking about yeah. So okay, so next I think, boys, we should, since we're already talking about duties and raids and stuff, we should talk about raid design.
Absolutely.
We're all raiders from the dark times, the World of Warcraft. So I feel like we all have an opinion on
Absolutely.
raiding in Final Fantasy. But honestly, before we talk about any of that, what's our raid experience like? Because I was only an ahead of the curve guy. I did not do cutting edge.
Sure.
For the uninitiated who have never played World of Warcraft, so ahead of the curve is for when you have completed a heroic end boss before the next patch cycle came around. So that means you killed him before he got nerfed to shit.
Yeah, basically you cleared that current heroic
Yeah.
raid cycle.
Whereas
Right.
cutting edge is you've done it on mythic difficulty, which is the highest tier of difficulty for raiding in World of Warcraft.
Yes.
I did not do that because I am a weenie, and also
I did
It's
it a
a-
lot.
it's a commitment
takes
that
a-
I didn't want to
Yeah,
commit to.
it's level of commitment. Like I'm not saying I rated at that level back in the day, but like I just had more time. Like
Right.
I don't have the time to dedicate to like perfect my rotation. Well, I mean I do in Final Fantasy. I mean it's different. It's different. But like
There's no requirement in 14.
yeah,
It's
it's
like-
a lot less strict. Like I mean it's a personal thing, right?
I'm
I just
gonna-
want to do better.
I'm
and not mess
gonna
this
throw it
up
out
or-
there. It's also just funner.
Yes, I
I-
do agree. It is more fun. Yep.
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
I feel like regardless of I feel like we just need to get this out there now for the community. Regardless of what game you play, there will always be sweaty tryhards that want to ruin your fun. I'm
Correct.
sorry. I'm sorry.
It's
and
true.
just don't even pay attention and
Yep.
keep on keeping on, because
Or like
if you're having
something-
fun, don't give a shit if anybody else is telling you not to. Obviously, you're not impeding on anybody else's peace or freedoms, but I
And
digress.
something we had to do in WoW more often than not. If you have issues with a raid group that are not swell, make your own. Like,
Yep.
just flat out. Like, if you're having a shit time and you still want to raid, just make your own group.
And there's plenty of
Yep.
people who are looking
Don't-
for groups that.
Yeah, don't settle
Share your
for
opinions.
subpar experiences.
Yeah, agreed
Funny-
completely.
Funny story in Wrath when Nax 25 and 10 were out. That's not what happened. Like it was like a qualm or whatever. Is that I wanted a tank as Death Knight and I got benched, and I was like, okay, well, cool.
What do
I'm
we
Wait,
do
gonna
now?
do
which
these
spec were
pugs.
you?
Yeah.
Those,
Which spec were you?
It
Well,
was Frost at the time.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
I was
when.
gonna
Yeah, that's
say.
when Frost was tank.
yeah.
Oh man, that was
Technically,
great.
any of them could be tanks. It's just that
Oh,
some
yeah.
of them were
Frost had better
garbage.
builds. Well, you could do it as Frost or you could do it as Blood tanking back then, because I played a Death Knight when they first came out, and that was where I got CE before CE was a thing back in Wrath. For
But
everything.
the reason I brought up our raid experience was like I feel like one of the biggest criticisms thrown at 14 is the high end content. You know, either
Sure.
PvP or raiding, or the lack of a small PvE focused thing. Like Zeppela brings up a lot Mythic Plus. We have, or rather, a Mythic Plus equivalent. So that would be in Final Fantasy. That would be 4-man dungeon content that is exceedingly higher than what we have already at Cap. You know,
So
Yeah.
I'll say this about Mythic Plus and whether or not it should be in 14. If it is done differently, it could work. I do not recommend it. And the reason why is if we go off the WoW system, it has a way of punishing players if their time is not managed correctly and they fail in a way that makes it very, very edgy. And a lot of people don't like to take part in it because I mean, you one wipe and people are saying fuck you and leaving, and
Yep.
your time is now wasted. You get a penalty for it for having not completed it. You're not going to get any reward for it, and then the higher up you go, you don't get a reward. You get recognition from your peers. That's it. And I'm just going to tell you now, I would fucking hate it if it came over to 14, because even though I got really high up in there, it ruins a core aspect of the game.
Blizz did actually implement a Raider type IO.
yeah, they
yeah.
did
And
system.
it's
very
horrible.
recently. Yeah,
That is, I like it, to be honest with you, but to be blunt, it's too little, too late. Like
Yep.
the community has already like devolved. I say this strongly, yes, around toxicity of like inclusion and exclusion. Like you're
We-
auto in if you're this build with this
Mhm.
score,
Yep.
and even if you meet this score, but you're this build, you're trash. Get the hell out of here. Like
Correct.
that's not okay. And I've never, and I do want to stress, never came across that. Even the bards or the dancer or whoever the hell it may be, standing off and whatever the hell, I've never seen somebody just straight up flaming them or vote taking for
Exactly.
that. Like
I mean, if we want, I can just go into one of the toxic communities that we've got in 14 as a direct comparison to what you guys are talking about.
I'll let
skip
you
ahead?
feast on that one.
Yeah. Let's skip ahead. Let's do that.
Fuck it, yeah, we're already
wanna end
talking
on a
about
high note.
toxicity in the game.
Yeah.
Let's fucking go. I fucking hate the feast.
Yeah.
And I hate the player base in the feast.
So I know nothing about it other than you said
Yep.
it's like arenas.
Explain
So-
to me like I'm 5.
Yeah, Eli.
So the
Five,
feast, it's a point accrual system where you spawn with a certain number of medals. It's 4v4, and it is a tank, a ranged DPS, a melee DPS, and a healer.
matter what?
Obvious, no matter what, it is always those 4. That's part of the, and we'll get onto it later, but that's part of the queue time issue.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah.
But so the way it works is that every player has a certain number of medals, and Some are worth more, some are worth less. But the point is every time you kill an opposing player, they drop half of their medals.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily based on how many kills you get, but whether or not you're getting the correct kills.
Gotcha.
There's also pickups within the arena itself that can give your healer back mana or give you buffs or whatever. Those are also super important to the match. Like it's something that you absolutely have to focus on when you're playing. It is not like a random pickup in like like as a comparison to WoW's arena. There's something you could pick up in that game to be able to see invisible players. Because like if there's just a druid that's just being an asshole and stealthing half the match, right?
Yep.
It is not like that. These pickups in the feast they, especially at the high end, like super high rating, they make or break the match. If you that is part of the match, is fighting over those consumables.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's like I would not say the feast is a bad game type. I enjoy it very much. My problem, and we'll get into it, is the player base itself is tiny and toxic as fuck. It is. I was having a blast playing the feast and was no-lifing the hell out of it for a couple of weeks before I was like, okay, I want to take this semi-seriously, so I'm going to look into the community. And that's when I started hating the feast. But firstly, like before I start my rant, like shout out to YouTuber Brian Ricardo. Literally like the only guy that does feast content that I'm aware of. But he's committed and he's smart as hell. Like he has single-handedly helped form a lot of the feast community that we have.
Wow.
The dude is awesome. So viewers, if you're interested in the feast even after my rant and how much I hate it, please go check him out. He's awesome.
So, okay, is it like WoW Arena at all?
Kind of sounds like 4v4 more or less.
It is 4v4. It is always 4v4.
Literally
also,
the in between
big
3s
difference.
and 5s.
Also a big difference. It is always the same arena.
Okay.
It does not change. It is one arena on top of the Crystal Tower. It's always that arena.
Well, are they expanding on that? I don't know if I've seen
they're
notes
not.
or anything. Okay.
So at the like my kind of like wrap up this opinion, and I'll go ahead and tell everyone listening now, the feast is taking a hiatus in Endwalker, and that hiatus may become permanent, depending. So in Endwalker, because the feast is done and performed as poorly as it has, the community obviously the community for Final Fantasy, the devs have decided to incorporate and create a new small form PvP mode that is not limited to roles.
Oh, okay. So you can have 4 DPS classes.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because the community is so small, it could effectively eliminate a lot of the queue times that we have now. Like, at worst, I could still see the queues taking like half an hour to go off, which is terrible. But I have sat in a feast queue for 3 fucking hours.
Jesus.
It's bad.
So,
especially considering what rank you're at and what point in the season you're at.
So the no role restrictions is definitely coming.
As far as I'm aware, yes, with the new PvP mode. Obviously, these things can change. They still haven't even, like, it is literally the last thing they're announcing. They keep postponing it.
Yeah, that's coming up on the live letter this weekend, right?
Yeah, it should be.
Next weekend. It's on the 5th.
Yeah, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
I will say that as a WoW player, the former WoW player, the restriction or no restrictions might actually make the community worse.
Right.
Because then you get into this weird thing where it's like, this is the meta that we play because these classes are better in PvP. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm at rating 2K or whatever the rating system is. Okay, well, I can only bring a monk, a red mage.
So here's the thing. There is one form of the feast currently that you can pre-create teams in. However, most of the previous last seasons, and I do mean most of them, are queue-based.
Oh, okay.
You have to go into a random queue.
Okay.
You do not get to make a team. Now,
I think that's good. Okay.
Exactly. I think for 14, that's better, honestly.
Yeah.
If you talk to the people that are highly competitive, they will immediately disagree with my point because they're highly competitive and they have their friends and their teammates that they know in their I believe in their words, don't suck shit.
Wow.
Oh no, I've heard way worse.
Sure.
Way worse. And I'm not even going to talk about the way worse because one, I'm vulgar. I'm not that vulgar. And two, a lot of these insults are so hyper specific, and because the community is so small, these people would know I'm calling them out.
No.
Because it's like their catchphrase, and that's how often they would insult people in these ways. But it still, like, moving on. I don't like the ping, but like that's just a video game thing.
Sure.
It like 14 definitely has a problem system side. It feels like with response times feeling really sluggish and slow.
Yeah,
that is a glaring issue in the feast. It is a huge issue. Where you add that on top of like if somebody has slightly better ping than you, that person's winning. I don't care if they're shit. I don't care if they're bad at the game.
It's just
they're hitting you twice for your once.
Yeah.
And you've lost. So that sucks, but that's more of a game side. And this last issue, this is my biggest issue, and it's an issue in 3 parts. One part is that the player base at the top does not give a shit about this. They don't think it's an issue, and it's part of why I quit.
Okay.
2, it is about the top 100. So for those of you who do not know, the feast has 2 different types of rewards.
Okay.
One is something that everyone gets. So depending on where you rank within a season, once the season ends, you get a number of items called wolf collars. These can be exchanged for weapon glamours, essentially.
Oh, nice.
They only introduced a single set of them, and they've never added on to it. So that's it.
Not nice.
No.
There is a single weapon for every class, and that's it. So once you got it, you got it. You can get all of them if that's what you want, but there's only a single kind.
For each class.
For each class.
That's kind of boring, considering they're on like season 19 or some shit.
And the other half is only awarded to the top 100 players across the entire data center.
Oof.
Yeah, that's a big oof.
Yeah.
So you, in our heads, coming from World of Warcraft's arena, that blows our fucking minds because we're like, holy shit, that's so few people. No, it's not, because that's like a 10th of the player base doing the feast. That's how few people are bothering to do this.
Yeah.
Like, really I played with at least 20 of the people in the top 100 regularly. Like, I would talk with them in Discord and play with them. That's how few were doing it.
Yeah, that's
well. Why weren't you in the top 100 then? You were literally
because
playing with a
my ping is
of the
shit,
best
and I suck shit. I'm awful.
You suck shit. In their words. In their words.
I mean, no, my words too. Like, I am under no illusion that I'm a skilled PvPer, because I'm not. But that isn't the part that rubs me the wrong way. I don't like that it's so limited, but boo-hoo, I'll get over it. The part that pisses me off and that made me quit and is attached to what I was saying before about the really top players not caring, is that the top 100 is filled with alts.
People
What does
have
that
multiple
mean?
characters?
You look at me as, what do you mean it's filled with alts? I will tell you, viewer. A player will get into the top 100. He will then go on to an alt on his account and then get into the top 100 again, effectively to boot another player out of the top 100.
So is it still not the same climb?
It is a similar climb, which is
Okay.
where you start having the people arguing for and against the topic.
Okay.
Because they still have to get to the top 100.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
they-
I'm not. I guess I would. I'll play devil's advocate here. You know, I'm not against that, right?
Mhm.
Because you got to think about it. That person is still putting in literally twice or even 3 times the time or effort to get into that tier and caliber. Now, to do so, like, I mean, it's literally just like bragging rights and like it. I guess I don't.
That's very specific glam, though. Like,
Yeah, and not only
100.
that, like, yeah, only 100 people, and you're literally taking 2 additional % of those rewards.
It goes
That-
both ways.
Yeah,
I can understand the idea of having bragging rights and being like, yeah, I can get into the top 100 10 times. Literally, there is a person, and I doubt they'd ever listen to this, but if they do, you know who you are. There's somebody that's gotten into the top 100 with like 7 fucking alts.
Jesus.
And you know it's the same person
That's
because they
disgusting.
use a similar naming system.
Oh,
yeah, that's just toxic. I mean, I'll just put it out there. That is just
again,
toxic.
but it's like it's exactly what you were saying. It's this weird in between of bragging rights versus there are some people that just want to be fucking assholes and boot people out of the top 100.
Sure. That comes
It's
kind of with
both,
that competitive
but
aspect,
is
right?
I mean, like, is either one okay?
No.
Like, that's where I have the issues with it. Like, it's a problem for me because the rewards are limited to so few that when you're creating alts for solely for the purpose of potentially booting out other people, and then you have a bunch of the people that may not even necessarily make it into the ladder agreeing with that mindset, I think you have a
that's kinda
toxic
shitty.
player base.
Yeah.
You have a toxic fan base that,
Well,
like,
what's
there's a
that?
reason the feast is dying. There's a
What's-
reason it's never been a thing, and there's a reason it's probably going away forever.
Well, what's that say about that person who is specifically going out of their way to be like, I don't want you in this, fuck you. I'm going to spend my time specifically making sure you don't get a reward. It's kind of shitty.
Yeah, the feast needs a redesign, but I mean, like, comparing the feast to WoW's arena, I feel like it's night and day. But moving on to our next topic, comparing Final Fantasy XIV's rating to World of Warcraft's rating,
Sure.
not that bad in my opinion. So here's my thing. I have not touched the hard modes for any of the rating in 14, and I have definitely not done anything similar to like the Epic of Alexander. However, from what I have been watching, especially from all of these top-end WoW raiders coming over and playing 14, they seem comparable. Like, not...
To a degree.
Like, I feel like the rating in 14 is still solid, if not, mind-blowing.
I feel like 14 does its hand at trimming off the fat. Like, case in point, trash. They're literally
Yeah,
only in the
yeah.
Alliance rates.
Fuck trash. I've been
Like
rating
that-
in WoW for so fucking
fantastic.
long, I'm tired of it.
And
Fuck
then not
trash.
only that, it's basically like self-mitigating a different toxic microcosm of let's go ahead and farm for the BOEs and then bid it off in the bid systems and all
Yep.
that jazz when like a new raid releases, and not even going to that, but
Yeah.
it's very comparable. But to that point, I feel Final Fantasy does a stronger aspect of being like, this is the boss, this is the aspect, this is your area to work with, aka they have a fixed pretty small in relation boss room, right? Like,
an arena.
yeah, they're like, this is your area. You have to deal with this situation. This is your tools. These are the mechanics. Well, obviously they don't tell you them specifically, but after a good dozen wipes, you'll get a hang of it.
Yeah, it's a dance versus am I going to get fucked by RNG or not?
Yep.
Like, learn the fight, learn where you're supposed to stand, and that's it. You win.
Yeah, and that's so from playing at the top. That's the major difference. Is one fight is completely scripted, and that's not to say that WoW does not have fights like that. However, WoW's system is heavily based on RNG. They want it to be a mystery. They want people to have to react in a different way other than in 14. It is very scripted. There's a set of rules in place that will always happen, and that's not necessarily the case in in WoW, or especially some of the later fights. I think if you want to compare side by side, I would rather, having played both, I'd rather have a scripted fight that I can improve myself personally and increase A, or kill time, or B, just to help get the clear, than have RNG basically cause wipes because we can't control it.
So you'd prefer 14's rating over WoW's rating?
Only because as a former raid leader, it's very frustrating when you are knee deep into a pool and all of a sudden it's like, hey, the one person we don't want in the raid to get targeted by this got targeted. You have 2 battle reses. If you use it on this person, you can't use it later in the fight, or that particular person can't die, or the raid wipes no matter what. And that's because I can't control it. It is extremely frustrating because you can't plan for it.
So another aspect that you would say is strong about the rating in 14 is that it also doesn't encourage that mindset of like, this is a weak player, I don't want them here.
Correct, because it's a learning curve. It's like no matter what, this player can learn exactly step by step what needs to happen. And there's no variables, you know exactly how it's going to break down. Versus, hey, this player doesn't react as fast as this other player, and if they get this mechanic because of RNG, we know that our raid's going to have a harder time to handle it. And for people who are like, well, just get a new raider, easier said than done.
It is easier said than done. Not only that, but like, it's a fucking video game, and we're all just wanting to log on and have fun. Like, no one wants to deal with drama of like your best DPS brought his cousin Carl to the night, and Carl sucks shit, and he's coming in blues, and it's like, I don't want to fucking ruin my night because like.
Carl just wants to have fun, man.
Yeah, Carl just wants to have fun. I don't want to shit on Carl's night because like it's a game.
Well, and I also think that the size of the raids is a big deal, because like no one really quote unquote progresses in alliance raids. Those are meant to be tackled with multiple groups, of course.
I'm gonna throw 40 people at this, and we will win.
Yeah, like. Whereas in WoW, it's like, for their top end content, it's 20 people. Think about it from a logistics standpoint. If you are a part of a mythic raid in WoW, you have to rely on 19 other people. If you are part of a static that is doing savage content, there's only 7. The chances of somebody fucking up have been literally cut in half.
And because it's so few, like it's normally like you have a tight knit group of your homies, and you're like, fucking Carl over here, fucking, what are you doing, bro?
10-man raiding leaving WoW was one of the worst decisions because it completely got rid of the small cliques. And then you have this weird dynamic where Group A wants to all hang out.
The move to have Mythic rating, the highest in content, be 20 players.
Terrible.
My opinion, bad move.
Yep.
Too many. It's too many. Like, I don't like huge raids, unless it's like what we're talking about with alliance raids, where it's like, I'm here in the Crystal Tower. I'm barely paying attention.
Yep, exactly.
But they work with it though. They emphasize that, like, obviously there are some like most of the boss fights are just like a big. Everybody's fighting it, but there are times where they break it out into like you're with your group, you're with your individual party. I really like how they implement that, like individual party.
And And if you want the fuck you difficulty in 14, you have stuff like the Epic of Alexander that exists for you to go and do.
Right. They cover everybody.
Yeah. But like, oh man, it's just chef's kiss.
Yeah. I think the main thing that I emphasize to people that when I try to sell them on this game is, even though that they share genre, they don't line up 1-to-1, and too many people want to line them up 1-to-1. And that's the thing, is like the rating is comparable, but you can see a scripted fight versus a non-scripted fight. Those are two different designs. How are you ever going to compare those fairly? You can have an opinion like I do, but they can't be compared fairly, and that's a big deal. People tend to lose sight of that.
Yeah, like action set to occur in an instant, like a sequential instance, or action set to occur by variables.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
that should kind of sum it up right there.
Like, yeah. It's and then I don't know if you guys have tried other MMOs as far as rating goes, but I think the system has evolved, but I think for the future, having something that you can measure tangibly because the same variables are in play every single attempt, I think is much more fulfilling to me as a player, to know that, okay, I just have to better myself.
Instead of having random RNG mechanics, you just have tighter windows that you have to meet.
Yep. Like, case in point, the opener window. I mean, I know, like, your starting rotation. I knew that. But the opener from WoW to, like, your pre-pot and your pre-pull, right? Oh my, is it such a difference? Like, you need to know to, like, basically to sync up your rotation and your cooldowns to line up with certain burst windows.
Yeah.
And it's a whole nother level of complexity that when you know all the other gears are firing off at the same time, it is apparent.
And
that
sucks
boss
if you,
melts, the fight just becomes cake, and everything is just singing. Like, it's wild. Like, it really is.
And then, like, adverse of that, fucking sucks to suck if your tank accidentally does something wrong and now your opener's fucked up because you have to cover for something he did.
Yep.
And Super Bowl light on pull. Let's go.
I know what you're talking about.
Too true.
I've never done it.
Too true.
I have actually specifically shifted my hotkey for Super Bowl. It's an easy access key. It's one of my mouse keys, but there's nothing near it. Like, I have to. I'm going to bowl line. I know I'm going to hit my mouse.
I have to know when I'm going to bowl line now.
Yeah. Because I did have it set to control 1, and there were too many times. Because then I'd have all my other mitigations set to my control hotkey, 2, 3, 4, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, there was more than a fair shake that I'd like to admit where I bowl lined. It's like, don't worry, I'm not going to die. Like,
oh man, but yeah, it just like gearing is still a thing in 14 raids. That is at least to a lesser extent. I feel like I don't know how big of a reliance on gear upgrades people have in 14. It feels pretty solid and linear.
Yeah. It's definitely linear.
I think the biggest upgrade, and I think Nox is probably the best one to guide us through this, but I feel like the biggest upgrade system we have in 14 is entirely the relic weapon system.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. The relics, that's like a whole endgame system in and of itself, to be honest with you. Not only in the fact of, obviously, like, attaining your class's BIS, but, like, the past relics, like, it's a time sink. I will 1000% say it is a time sink, but the grinds that I've done are like happy grinds, if you will. Like, I've done now 2 Heavensward weapons actually, and about, I'd say, like, maybe 75 to 80% of a resistance weapon. I'm at the last stage, if you know what I'm saying about them gears and them tomes. My God. Yeah. That's fun.
I have heard nothing but bad things about it, and that's one of the ones I haven't touched.
That stage,
it's not great.
the resistance state weapon. So mind you, I'm saying from completed relic weapons. I've also done Zodiac up to about halfway through the book stage for my ninja. Yeah, no, I seriously. I was trying to go ham on it, like go straight through, and then I did the research on. Wait a second, you're telling me that Heavensward? I just need to go farm poetics and then just farm effectively, man.
Yep.
Two Heavensward relics later.
Yeah, I slapped on my paladin weapon from fucking doing the Zodiac stuff, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is great. I love doing this stuff. It's not that bad. It's a little grindy, but whatever." And then it's like, "Hey, here are these books." I'm like, "Oh, cool. How many do I have to do?" I'm never getting it. I'm never getting it. Fuck that. Fuck it.
But to go back to the resistance, though. So I've dabbled in all of them. Like I said, I've completed Heavensward ones. I've done I think book phase is roughly about I know it's at the more than the halfway stage. So I'd say roughly about 50 to 60% on Zodiac, right? Eureka, I completed the first stage, I think. No, I'm at +1 of the weapon. So I've got experience with all of them. The evolution you see from how they implemented Eureka to how they did Resistance, I love it. I sincerely love the implementation of like a quest line built into the grind, and then they have like the one and done unlocks, and like that is really cool. Granted, I say that, but then I got to the last stage of Resistance, and then they literally are like, "Hey, guess what? You're gonna do 180 raids." Wait, yes, you can go and do. You can go and farm Baja.
Baja for life.
No, excuse me, not Baja. Xandor. Yep, you can go and do the Xandor CEs. But
that's the way to go, homie.
I insta queue. I literally I get an insta pop for any of the raids I pop in. Everybody else is doing the raids. It's and literally a 3 to 5, 180.
Netflix simulator.
I shit you not. 180. It's 30 for one, 30 for another. That's a quest. 30 for one, 30 for another. That's a quest. 30 for one, 30 for another.
And
now,
what's
the
funny,
interesting part is how they progress them. Those cheeky bastards. Like they're like, here's some Alexander. Have at it. And it's like, yeah, we're gonna blow through some Alexander, man. This is some good shit. And then it's like, oh, you remember Omega? Have some Omega. And it's like, oh, okay. I remember. Pepperidge Farm remembers. And you get through the Omega. I think I'm about like halfway through or so. Now, mind you, kind of going back also to our other raid discussion with Eden. I really enjoy the story and really, really liked how they implemented that. There's clear evolution that they're really putting effort into building a story and then making the fights based around how it actually like ties into the story.
Yeah,
it actually
that was really great.
It's apparent. But I'm dreading the grind for Eden. I am definitely going to be looking up some efficiency guys to be like, what are the easiest ones to just get this shit done?
So I haven't done Delubrum. I just unlocked it, and I gotta say, Basha is amazing because only having no Zadnor experience, no Delubrum experience, because I haven't run it yet. Like Basha as a leveling zone, fantastic. Like it's just so easy to just go. Okay, I'm going to go fate to fate, and when CE pops, I'm going to do it. Now, if we had made this podcast last week without my technical difficulties, I would have told you, oh my god, I love Castrum. It is amazing. However, last night, I had the worst run I've had in there. That's probably like my 8th or 9th, and I don't think I'm ever going to run that place again. I was so upset. Because people don't really explain it at this point in the expansion. And I get it. At this point, you're like, dude, you haven't done this yet. But the second to last boss, the Adramlek or whatever the fuck that person's name is, I died 9 times on one fight. Yeah, I refuse to deal with that again.
Yeah, no, dude. I got to the point where when I was farming out the Castrum for the resistance. Like I told myself, if I die twice on a boss fight, it's meant to be. I am not hemorrhaging as much metal as
Oh my god,
like
it's
get
like
that shit out of
8,000
here.
a death
Yeah,
right now for me, and
Yeah.
then
it goes way
I
up.
died 9 times.
Jesus.
Like, quick maths. That's 72. That's 72k. That was
on
an
the bright
entire
side,
level.
you get like 200.
Yeah, like 250k.
200, right?
Yeah, something ridiculous.
Yeah.
But no, I completed that run. I logged off of the night. I went to my wife and was like, "Hey, what do you want to do?" She's like, "I thought we were doing our own thing." Yeah, I don't want to do that anymore. It's not good.
Hot tip for the new people, hitting max levels, starting their resistance quest line. The raids for the resistance weapons are really fucking hard. They are a step above what you're used to in like Eden, and like
Yeah.
they're in my opinion they're like actual raiding. Like you will be one shot by multiple mechanics if you are not paying attention.
Really?
Castrum and Delibrum are
Castrum for
no
sure.
joke. Don't even get me started with Delibrum Savage. I looked up stuff for it. I'm like, I really do want the Cerebus mount. I really do.
Right.
But I'm just like, you know what? No. Like,
Yeah,
I
saw
don't know
that.
if I have the willpower as a human.
Also,
Like-
smaller hot tip that does not apply to everybody, and you guys might not even know this, but the Cloud motorcycle from the store baseline gives you max speed regardless of leveling zone, right? It works in the same way inside of both Bajja and Zadnor.
Oh,
So you know how you have to grind to get faster mount speeds?
Yep.
Oh,
Not with the motorcycle.
That feels really bad.
I mean,
That-
it kind of
my-
does, but at the same time, $15 later, it kind of doesn't.
My
Right.
my
It
friend
paced
was
itself.
like,
Yeah, that does.
why are you as fast as me? You just got here, and I'm like, because fuck you, motorcycle. That's why.
Because Cloud said, "Brr, brr."
Yeah, no, that's the advantage of it. Like whenever you're leveling, also like new players, if you buy the Cloud motorcycle, because why wouldn't you? It's Cloud's motorcycle from Advent Children.
Bought the whale. I'll say it. Don't call me out about it. Yeah, I bought the
You
whale.
are a whale. Yeah, give them all the money. I mean, I'd give them all the money. They're worth it. They make a great game. But it's Cloud's motorcycle. You're always traveling at least on the ground at the fastest possible speed, regardless of whether or not you've earned it in the zone. So that's a thing to keep in mind. Also works in Bajja and Zadnor.
Nice.
Yeah, I fucking love Bajja, and that's probably because I have such an isolated experience. But I have been on a fucking tear lately and leveling like a madman.
Nice.
All right.
So,
I mean,
Kind of one last point on the Bajja, Xandor, and rating aspect. Like it really does hit on probably my biggest point about it is the story is valid throughout the raid sequence. Like the Save the Queen arc, like I haven't technically finished it, right?
Sure.
It is really cool so far. Like I really like it. It actually does like make me want to push through, even though it is definitely the most difficult content I've like done in like PvE context, not Savage, not and whatnot. But
honestly, that could be said as like another failing of 14's PvP aspect. There is nothing story-wise tied into that.
Oh yeah.
Like at the very
Yeah.
beginning, you have an introduction as to why it's happening.
Right.
you have
And that's
3
it.
quests. Yep,
Yeah,
there's
that's it.
3 quests to unlock the things, and that's it. I can see, if they did maybe like let's say a little 5 arc, right? You do one queues you up for like a test run here, etc., but it's really a live run, and then so on and so forth. It just literally goes through a little bit of detail. But
I would
don't know.
very much in the future like for them to introduce a new either zone for PvP. Or something PvP related for every expansion, and I would like there to be a storyline attached to it, like we have with, like, say, the resistance weapons. That would be
fair.
cool.
Yeah.
Everything else in this game is tied into some form of storyline in one way or another. PvP should be as well.
Yeah, a glam weapon in a PvP oriented progression system is not out of the question. I mean,
Yeah.
reward the people who are going to
And
continue to play.
I didn't put
Yeah.
this out there earlier. I just wanted to be on the record. I think PvPers should earn their rewards. I but I do not like time constraints, aka a
Yeah,
season.
the seasons.
And I
You
also
get
do not
boosters,
like.
man, but then you
Yeah.
get boosters.
It's like
Not after today.
I mean, I think my thing is like if I earn my PvP stuff, I should be able to do that at my own pace and not within
Sure.
2 months.
Wait,
Yeah,
like-
did I miss something that happened today?
Oh yeah, you guys didn't see you're no longer allowed to advertise in Party Finder. People are already finding a way to circumvent.
Oh, yeah.
They have found like they're basically just cracking down on it. So while it's not a true fix, this is definitely a step in the right direction.
Oh yeah,
Nice. Okay, that's
Yeah.
good.
So
long overdue from what I understand.
absolutely big
Yeah.
time, big time.
But I feel like that's it, boys.
Could be. I think the only other thing I really want to touch on this is crafting and gathering.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go on.
It's so good. I don't get it. Like I just don't understand why anyone would dislike it. It's so good.
Okay, I'm not feigning indifference or anything. It's just not my thing. Like I never.
It is crafting
I only
and gathering
crafted
is
out
its
of
own
obligation in any MMO. I crafted
Sure.
because it was a BIS item, or it got me this fancy, awesome ass mount. Yeah, I was always an alchemist in WoW because it gave me
Yeah.
longer flasks,
Flasks.
and yeah, that was fantastic because then I sold the flasks, made
Yeah,
extra money,
of course.
blah, 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 blah. It was out of necessity. I love the fact that it is out of choice. Granted, if I want to pentameld my shit, that is necessity. Cool.
Sure.
But I ain't getting on that yet. I say yet because I'll probably end up doing it then.
So here's why I think it's great. And this is twofold. One, this is a fantasy game. I want to do shit I'm not going to do in real life. Blacksmithing, goldsmithing, alchemy, all this shit. I'm not doing
As
any
he's
of
already
this.
got culinary at 80. He's like, don't worry about that, okay?
Yeah, okay, that's a different story for a different time. But
I like making food.
But
Shut
like,
up.
yeah, like not. I don't do this in real life. You know, I'm not gonna go temper a fucking sword. So like being able to do it, and the reason I like it so much in 14 is because the system itself is interactive, and this is the first time I've experienced a system to this degree of interaction for a crafting or a gathering, like a subset of a main game. Especially when you compare it to the other ones. Like I haven't tried New Worlds, but Guild Wars 2, WoW, EverQuest. I mean, this system on all fronts crushes.
It very much feels like the penultimate experience for if you want to be a crafter in a video game, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The only way it could be better is if the entire game was based around it.
Yep. I would play it like crazy.
My friend does. That
so
is
good.
literally 80% of what he does
Yeah.
is crafting and gathering and just. I think he
Engaging.
he fucking billionaire over there.
Yeah, I will say the dependency on guild making having those professions is kind of ridiculous. Because I've seen people make good amounts of money without it, but you want to make money in this game, you are a crafter or a gatherer, or
Oh yeah,
most
easy.
of the time you're doing both, so that way you can
Yep.
supplement your own shit.
Or you're dancing in role play events.
Yeah.
Well, we
Yeah.
don't talk about those nightclubs.
There's no kink shaming here, okay?
I mean, I feel like we need to talk about the nightclubs at one point or another, but not
yeah.
today.
That could be a different
One
time.
day we'll talk about the miscellaneous activity.
I'm a
We'll just
cowboy.
call it the
I can make bank.
miscellaneous
Yeah, I'm a cowboy.
activities.
Yeah.
Have you heard my voice? If I got on Discord, I'd be making the gill.
Hey, baby.
All I'm saying.
Oh my god. I think that pretty much sets up the bulk of the systems. I mean, there's obviously a bunch of subsystems in there. You know, we can talk about housing, we can talk about beast tribes and all those shits. Like that could be for something else, but I think that kind of covers the entire game. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we really hit on the systems we felt were most important to hit on. Again, literally the story is the thing that ties all of this together.
Yeah,
Except for PvP. I think that's a big weakness of it, is that it does not tie in PvP. That needs to change, in my opinion. Along with PvP.
When I wonder, yeah, PvP as a whole changing. I wonder how they would go about it, because it's.
I think they need to make it. I think they need to just lean into the rest of what 14 is really good at, and that's a casual, fun experience, and stop like the top 100 shit. Like that needs to go away.
Yeah,
I think that it needs to be much more casual, and that will expand the PvP player base, and then later on down the line, they can start experimenting with more hardcore stuff like what we have with the Epic of Alexander for PvE players.
Well, okay, so they get rid of top 100. You said that the top 100 is like 10%. So let's go off that number. If it was top 250, would it be as big of an issue?
I mean, I don't think it's even the top, like, whatever being the issue, right?
Okay.
It's that you have a super tiny, limited community that is filled with, and I'll be generous, let's just say half of it is toxic.
Okay.
That's still too many people.
Yeah.
That's turning away new players that want to get invested and want to play and want to have fun and understand this system. And then on top of that, you have a 1 hour to 3 hour queue time as the norm.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
this is what's killing it.
Yeah.
So my opinion, I think they're taking an awesome step in the right direction by removing the roles, but keeping the random queue.
Okay.
Because that encourages a much more casual gameplay type, right?
Yeah.
But like I said, I think they need to start incorporating more story aspects into it, open it up a bit more, make it a bit more casual, but also work on it every expansion and not just be a thing that they think about every now and then.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we fucked up. We didn't talk about the true end game. Knox, I know.
I realized we went off on tangents. It's
sure,
fine.
That's fine.
Did we? Did we?
Dude, we went on an hour and 5, man. What do you?
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
We
but
had,
I feel like
2 minutes of
we've just.
filibuster.
I feel like we've just been talking about what we wanted to talk about.
All
though.
right. I mean,
Well,
there was a
I want
point
you
when
guys
you
to
were
talk
going
about
on to
this.
like, what was it, like 0.5 or 6 on your feast, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna cut you off and be like, these fucking glamour spheres things are awesome, but then you were getting heated again, and I'm like, you know what?
Let him go.
All right, I'll let him go. Like he's into it.
The people
All right.
need to know.
Glam. Super quick. I don't do glam. You guys go.
Well,
All right, so can we just throw D under the bus because he does not believe in the one true end goal?
Fucking bullshit. It's
like,
garbage.
why?
It's not bullshit.
What is wrong?
How
I
do
don't-
you not?
I don't look at my character while I'm playing.
You're
I,
a
like,
monster.
look
Yeah,
at the
you're an
ground.
awful
monster.
That's a raider mentality.
You're an awful human being. Like not even Final Fantasy player, just
Subpar.
straight up subpar.
So,
D, don't you know you parse higher when your glam is on point? Like, what the fuck?
Exactly.
Yeah,
and then when you
click
theme
surpasser.
it's just like RGB on your computer. Did you not know?
I don't
Come
do
on.
RGB anyway. So
Oh!
yeah.
Oh!
Poop.
Oh!
So okay,
It
I know
makes
what
sense.
it is.
He doesn't do RGB. He doesn't do glam.
Disgusting.
No, my whole
Like-
thing's red, and I can't even see it because of the way my shit's set up. I don't give a fuck about any of that.
Well, I mean, my favorite aspect of it, to be honest, and just straightforward to it, is just the glamour plates. Like the glamour plates. I know that you have like the saved glams that you can do, etc. Like in the comparative of like transmogs.
So the
But,
plate
like,
is
the
just
fact
like a
that-
mobile set.
In a sense, yeah. It's like
Okay.
basically, so you can have. I'm going to use my Gunbreaker as an example. So I have my Gunbreaker build, right?
Okay.
And it's one set of gear, right?
Sure.
But I have actually 2 different plates tied to it. So whenever I choose my Gunbreaker number 9, I it looks like my futuristic sci-fi tanky guy, if you will. Right, I got the late Allegan gear. I got the resistance weapon as far up as I do, which is stage before last,
Okay.
and that's the build. That's just how I like the glam. Then the other one I have is basically kind of like my my Dark Knight wannabe. I got the oh man, people are gonna slay me for this, but I cannot remember the name of Odin's helm.
Odin's helm.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine, Knox. It's cool, homie. It's fine.
Hemalia? I don't know. Something like
I don't
that.
fucking care.
It's a weird
don't
name,
care.
but anyways, it's a cool
Herm's
homage to like a
Fergamager.
Dark Knight, you know, and it's like the Gunbreaker stance. So it's just I don't know. I thought it was cool, and it's just a difference of all right. How do I want to look while I'm playing today? Like, do I want to be all futuristic sci-fi Gunbreaker guy? Or do I want to be edgy, wannabe Dark Knight that's just better than Dark Knight?
What the fuck did you just say? I will fight
Don't
you.
make me come over there. I will
Fucking.
pop
Why
some
don't you go
magical
into a
shells in your
corner?
general direction.
Why don't you walk into a corner and shoot yourself in the face, Mr. Gunbreaker? Look at me,
Jesus.
Bolad. Boop.
Better yet, I will shoot myself in the foot and be immune because of it.
Ah.
And be
Oh.
All right.
Man.
Well, then I think that about wraps us up for this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it. So we've got, what was your guy's name? As Ricardo.
Easy. Just stick with easy.
Okay.
Oh, he's dropping his IGN out here? Wow.
As it is. Anyways,
fucking-
easy. No. I didn't say Ricardo. Brian Ricardo. I was trying to. What was your YouTuber's name?
The
So
YouTuber.
down below in the
Yes.
description, you can catch both Brian Ricardo and Zeppela. Go subscribe to their content. Both of them doing great in their respective fields. This is going to be it for Best in Slot Radio. I'm DTG.
I'm easy.
And I'm Knox.
You heard it. He's easy. We'll see you next time.
I am.